Maybe the true theme of this tradition is trying to make something in 3 days and then having everything go sideways and needing more time. Hello, welcome or welcome back. I kind of can't believe I'm saying this, but it has been an entire year of making YouTube videos here on the Sumdrum channel. It was actually a year in October, but I had a lot going on in October, if you couldn't already tell. But I did not want to let this milestone pass me by, especially because I know that there's a lot of new faces around here since my last couple of videos. Hi, if you're new here. So today we're going to be celebrating the anniversary of the channel by semi-recreating my first video. If you've been around since the beginning, first of all, huge shout out because you are the best. You might remember that my first ever video here was attempting to sew a dress in 3 days. Now, when I filmed that video, I knew nothing about filming, I knew very little about sewing, and I definitely did not sew that dress in 3 days. But that was my original concept for the video, and I thought it would be fun as a little anniversary treat to try to sew something else in 3 days. Now, I do just want to point out that for some people, 3 days might seem like a long time to sew something. I've seen so many creators do like 24-hour challenges where they're making multiple pieces all in one day. If that's you, that's great. But for me, where I'm at right now, making something in 3 days still feels like a challenge, depending on what it is. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to make for this 3-day challenge, I was thinking about the fact that I've been making a lot of bigger projects, more elaborate projects, fancier projects lately, and what better complement to all of that than something super practical, super cozy that I know I will definitely wear day in and day out. And that is a loungewear set. I am a loungewear girl through and through. I work from home, I sew from home, and my everyday outfit is usually some combination of leggings or sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a sweatshirt. So today, I'm super excited to make a matching sweatpants and sweatshirt set. And we're gonna be using this beautiful forest green modal sweatshirt fleece that I got from Lyrical Fabrics. And before we get started, I do have an exciting announcement. I have done a little bit of prep work for this project, as I do for most of my projects nowadays. And while I usually don't film a lot of that behind the scenes kind of prep work, this time I did, and it's not here on YouTube, but it is over on my brand new Patreon, and it is live now for you to go check it out. For this project, I sorted through all of my old patterns to find the pattern that I'm gonna use for the sweatpants set, and I actually self-drafted the sweatshirt pattern from an existing sweatshirt in my wardrobe. I also just chatted a little bit more about the process of making these garments and making these videos. If you have any interest in all of that, please go over to my Patreon and check it out. So yeah, there's no pressure, but if you're interested in more content from me, there's going to be a lot more fun stuff going up over there, as well as here on YouTube. Editing summer here because I want everyone to feel free to check out the Patreon with no obligation. Memberships now through the end of November will have a free first 7 days. So you can check out the video that I already have posted over there and see if it's something you like before fully committing to the membership. So yeah, we've got 3 days, which is not a lot of time. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. I think we're gonna start with the pants. If you're new here, my name is Summer, I love to sew, and my 2025 challenge for myself has been to make all of my own clothes rather than buy anything from the store. And it's been going pretty well. It's definitely been an interesting creative challenge, and it's made me look at the pieces in my wardrobe in kind of a whole new way, which was definitely the case with this project. You'll see later when we start to work on the sweatshirt, but I basically was able to take my favorite sweatshirt, or one of my favorite sweatshirts from my closet, and kind of deconstruct it in my head and create a pattern to make another version of it, which I know a lot of people do that self-drafting process. I don't do it very often, but I would like to get into it more. And it was a super fun, kind of different challenge to stretch my sewing brain. But before we get there, we're gonna start on the pants. And for this, I am borrowing from a pattern. This is the Carolyn Pajama Pant pattern from Closet Core Patterns. I did make these once before for my Christmas pajamas from last year, and I'm just gonna make a few small alterations on the pattern to make it more of what I'm looking for these sweatpants rather than PJ pants. All right, I started with the pockets for the pants. To actually make the pocket bags, this is one of my favorite pocket designs. It's basically a long rectangle that then gets folded in half and attached both along the side seam and the waistband. So you end up with a nice big pocket without it being too bulky or difficult to keep in place, I guess. Pant pockets are pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to hand baste the pockets in place at both the side seam and the top seam. Ordinarily, I would do this on a machine, but I will say that although the hand sewing on my last project was a lot, it did really make me start to feel more comfortable with hand sewing in general. I feel like I used to avoid it like the plague and just like hated doing any sort of hand sewing. And now I'm kind of like, oh, it's actually not so bad. Because like here, yeah, maybe I could do this quicker on a machine, but it's not going to take very long to do it by hand, and it ensures that the basting stitches will be really easy to take out. I will be honest, a lot of times I just leave basting stitches in, and I'm sure you do too. These hand basted stitches will be very easy to remove. I will also say that so far this fabric is really nice to work with. As I mentioned, I got it from Lyrical Fabrics. It was a little bit of a splurge, but I wanted to celebrate with this project. And it's a modal sweatshirt fleece, and it's actually very, very stretchy. Super lightweight, super stretchy. If it's still available, I will put a link to it in the description, just in case you're curious what it is. And yeah, I'll be curious to keep working with it because so far, so good. Basting done. So this is the inside of the front pants, and here's our pocket. So I've just basted it along the side seam here and along the top where the waistband will be here. And then when you turn it around, you can see this is how the finished pocket's looking. So pocket right in here. It is, because it's such a lightweight fabric, the pocket piece might show through a little bit, but that's okay. Also, one modification that I did make to this pattern is there is usually a faux fly along the crotch seam, and I just decided to remove that. I don't want the look of the faux fly on these pants, and so I basically just cut the piece without that faux fly little flap on them. I think now I switch over to the back pants and sew through that crotch seam. Ooh, and I'm excited because I'm going to try doing some flat felled seams on this project. Probably not all the way through the pants, but I'll do a couple on the pants, and I want to do some on the sweatshirt as well. Both because it's just a seam construction that I'm not super familiar with, so I thought it'd be good to practice it, and because I really like the look of it. So I will definitely talk you through all the details of that as well. Okay, flat felled seams. So basically, if you don't know what a flat felled seam is, it's the type of seam you might see a lot on your like jeans or other like heavy duty pants like that. Not necessarily on sweatpants, but like I said, I'm just trying to use the opportunity to learn a new technique. So they kind of look like this. At least this is my attempt at practicing a flat felled seam. So it is similar to a French seam in that all of the raw edges are encased, but as the name suggests, it ends up being a flat seam. So I've got the back pants here, and I've just pinned along the crotch seam. Essentially, the steps are sew the pieces right sides together, press the seam open, and then instead of grading both sides of the seam allowance, as you would with a French seam, and then sewing together right sides together, you grade down half of the seam allowance and fold the longer seam allowance around the shorter seam allowance, and then sew it down flat. I think that turned out decently well. It's like not the most even, it's definitely a little bit wavy. I could work on that for sure, but overall pretty happy with it. And then this is what it looks like from the inside. So I love how clean the finish is. I'm really happy with that as like a first go around trying flat felled seams, especially on a curve. I can see how when you do that second seam, it's obviously going to be visible from the right side. So trying to make it as even as possible with the original seam. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing for the front pants, and then we can join the front and back pants together. So we're clipping along at a really decent rate today. I'm really, really excited about these. I just love cozy clothes so much, so I'm really excited to wear them. All right, I just finished joining the front pants pieces, and now I'm ready to join the back and the front together. I'm going to sew through the inseam first and then do the side seam. Yeah, I think I'm gonna zip through, hopefully zip through these last few steps and save the waistband and the hem for a different day because the light is starting to go. All right, let's get these pants put together. Hello, it is the next day. I did not end up finishing everything that I thought I was going to or wanted to last night. I just kind of burnt out at the end of the day. I don't know. But I am really happy with the progress that we made yesterday, and I'm feeling good going into today. So last night I did finish the inseam of the pants. I did the flat felled seams, and I'm so happy with how they look. To start today, we're going to get things set up to do French seams on the outer side seam of the pants. And then I think I want to do the waistband as well. I might hold off on hemming the pants just because I am a little bit torn whether I want to do just a regular hem on them or if I want to do like a cinched hem with the rib knit that I have to do like kind of a jogger pant style. I'm not sure yet. But I would like to get the waistband done to at least see how the pants are fitting. And then I think we might pivot over to the sweatshirt. Okay, the side seams are done. I'm super happy with how they're looking. And now I'm gonna move straight on to the waistband. So this waistband comes in two pieces, so I'm just gonna stitch the two halves together, wrong sides together, and then do a bit of pre-ironing on it to mark where the halfway point is, and then fold one side of it maybe half an inch under, and that will mark where the inside edge needs to fold over. Then I'm gonna go ahead and pin the waistband right sides together with the waistline of the pants and sew all the way around. We've got the waistband partially attached, so it's just attached on here if you can see, and then I'm gonna fold it down where I had originally folded it in half, and this is the part where I'm gonna need thoughts and prayers because I'm gonna have to do a stitch in the ditch, which if you saw my last video, you know is kind of my nemesis, to try to secure the waistband on. Ooh, I should also add a tag. Hang on. I feel like I always forget to add a tag, which is fine, but I have these cute little made in 2025 tags that my cousin got for me, and the time to use them is rapidly coming to a close. So I wanna remember to put a tag in the back. Okay, we can do this. We can do a successful stitch in the ditch and not have to redo it, and it's gonna be great. I will say, I feel like I made really good time yesterday. Today, everything is taking me longer than expected. I've already used up most of my allotted sewing time today, and I thought we were gonna get into the sweatshirt. Now I don't think that is the case. Suddenly 3 days is not sounding like that much. I'm gonna be so for real and say that that went poorly. I turned off the camera, but I was having a bad time with that stitch. First of all, something about this like knit stretchy fabric made it nearly impossible to actually keep the needle where I wanted it to. It was just, I felt like it was slipping everywhere. Part of it may be that I'm doing a tiny zigzag stitch, so maybe it was stupid to even like attempt to try to do something in the ditch because it's not a straight stitch, but I didn't want to use a straight stitch on this stretchy fabric. So I'm using a tiny little zigzag. But then on top of that, there are so many places that it just didn't catch on the underside. And you saw, I pinned the heck out of it. I'm gonna have to go over a bunch of sections again. I don't think I have the heart to like seam rip and try it all again. I think I'm just gonna try to patch up the sections that I didn't catch. If anyone has any tips to improve this stitch in the ditch technique, please let me know in the comments, because I almost feel like I'm getting worse at it as time goes on. I certainly don't feel like I'm getting better. I keep trying to practice and I keep trying to do it, but it really kicks my butt every time, and I just find it to be so frustrating because it's like you don't even know that you're doing it wrong until you've finished the whole thing. Like, at least with some techniques you can kind of see where you're going wrong right away to adjust. It's just so frustrating to sew like an entire line of stitches and then realize you messed up. Okay, I think I'm gonna need a little break after that, but I am going to fix this up as best I can, try to make it look okay, and then I've got to thread some elastic through it. These pants have taken way longer than I thought they were going to today. Like, I thought we were on such a good track yesterday, and now I'm like, well, I don't know if this is gonna get done in 3 days. The sweatshirt will have to be really fast, and I don't know if it's going to be. So we'll see. I might have a little bit more time to work on this tonight, and then I will see you again tomorrow for probably some sweatshirt construction. Hello. It is the 3rd day of the 3-day challenge. I have about 5 hours today. 5 hours like maximum that I can devote to sewing today. Do I think that's gonna be enough time? No, I don't. Am I gonna try anyway? Yes, I am. If sewing has taught me anything, it is that everything takes longer than you expect it to. So doing a 3-day challenge was just never really gonna be a feasible goal, I don't think, because whatever I will have scheduled myself for those 3 days, it's just, there's always gonna be more to do. But yesterday we ended in kind of a grim place. That stitch in the ditch just really frustrated me, but I did go through and kind of tried to fix that as best I could without going crazy with unpicking a bunch of stitches, and you know what, I think it looks fine. I also threaded the elastic waistband through and pinned it in place, and I think once the elastic is in and everything is like kind of gathered up at the waistband anyway, you won't actually see quite how terrible my stitch in the ditch looks. At least that's my hope. So I did just do a quick little try on last night. I didn't film it. I just made sure that the elastic is the correct length, the length that I want it to be. And so now I'm gonna finish sewing up the elastic and getting that situated in the pants. And then I do have to figure out what I'm gonna do for the hem of these pants. So we'll see. Once I finish the waistband, I might actually pivot over to the sweatshirt for today. And this is actually the sweatshirt that I based my pattern off of. If you go watch the Patreon video, you'll see how I self-drafted the pattern based on this sweatshirt, but I thought I would wear it today so that we can reference it along the way, see how mine compares to this one. Obviously they will not be exactly the same, but this is one of my favorite sweatshirts to wear, so I really wanted to kind of replicate the cut of it, and also some of the detailing on it I think is really fun and interesting. For example, this sweatshirt features like a sleeve construction where the seam is on top of the sleeve. So on the bottom of the sleeve, there's actually no seam at all. So instead of being a normal like kind of bell shape for the sleeve, it is actually like a crazy shaped pattern piece. I'll show you. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited to do some more flat felled seams, and yeah, we'll just see how far we get today. Without further ado, let's get into it, because obviously there is no time to lose. Okay, the waistband on the pants is done and I'm actually very, very happy with it. Obviously the stitch in the ditch could have gone better, but I do think that now that the full elastic situation is in, you don't see it as much. So in addition to putting the elastic in, I did one line of stitches across the middle of the whole elastic. This is a technique that I learned from Sydney Graham with the Sandra skirt, I think that's what it's called. You basically stretch the elastic to the length of the fabric and sew a line of stitches or multiple lines of stitches along the elastic, and that way it really evenly gathers the fabric around the elastic. This technique took some getting used to. I feel like the first time that I did it, I didn't do the best job of it, but especially on a thick, chunky elastic, I think that it makes it look so good, and it keeps the elastic in place and it keeps it looking good all the time. Even after you wash it, you don't end up with like twisted elastic in the middle. So yeah, really happy about that. When I tried them on just now, I was comparing the hem, whether I wanted to just leave it loose and just do like a rolled hem on it, or if I wanted to insert some elastic and turn it into a jogger. And I think I prefer the look of the jogger. Obviously that means more work for me, but I'm just going to insert a channel basically in the bottom of the pants at the hem and insert some small thin elastic. And I think hopefully that'll create the look that I want it to. But at least then that's the last thing I want to do on the pants, and then they'll be done. So that feels really good. For the cinched hem on the pants, I measured out where I wanted the hem to hit, made sure it was even on both sides, and then folded it towards the wrong side and just folded the raw edge under. I stitched all the way around to secure that fold, and then I slid some, I think it's 1/4 inch elastic through that channel, attached to the ends, and finished sewing up the channel. So I think that the pants are done. I'm so excited about them. I'm gonna put them on now. Even if I am running like wildly behind the schedule that I set for myself, I'm super excited to just have these pants done. Let's put them on. Oh my gosh, I love them. They're so cozy. I'm so happy with them. I really love the waistband and this little waistband detailing. And I think I made the right choice with the hems. I just prefer a little cinched hem. Pivoting over to the sweatshirt, this, as I mentioned, is the template for the sweatshirt. I have a front piece, a back piece, and then 2 crazy looking arm pieces. So we're gonna assemble, and then I have to figure out still the ribbing for the neckline and for the sleeves, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I have not yet used the ribbing and I don't have really any experience adding like ribbing neckline onto knitwear, and I've heard it's challenging. But first time for everything, and we're just gonna do our best, as always. So to start, I'm going to sew the side seams of the front and the back together, and then we'll start assembling the arm. Oh man. Oh, let me fix this. Hello friends. It is many days later. It's actually like a couple of weeks later. I had grand plans to finish this sweatshirt all in that last day, and then things just went a little bit sideways. Basically, I had a couple of trips coming up that I was also preparing for in addition to filming this video, and essentially everything else in my life just had to take precedence over my sewing for a minute. It is now, I guess, technically day 4 of this challenge, which feels hilarious because it is so long after everything else that I filmed. Maybe the true theme of this tradition is trying to make something in 3 days and then having everything go sideways and needing more time. The good news is I have been wearing these sweatpants like non-stop. I'm loving them so, so much. So I am extremely motivated to make the matching sweatshirt, and I think today is the day. I had to like completely refamiliarize myself with where I was at. It looks like I essentially sewed up the side seams for the top and then did nothing else. Didn't even finish. I was gonna do like a flat felled seam, didn't even finish the flat felled seam. So this morning I'm going to start by finishing those seams and then we will attach the arms. I do think that this sweatshirt is going to go quickly once I really get into it. So fingers crossed that today is actually the day that we finish. But as always with sewing, who knows? We'll take it one step at a time. Also, I thought that this like green on green outfit was kind of fun, but now that I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder, I feel like it's giving like Cadet Kelly vibes, which is not bad, but also not quite what I was going for. Oh well. Okay, I have my front and back side seams done. So looking like this. And then this armhole looks massive because I'm just so excited to show you the arm construction in more detail, because it was the thing about my existing sweatshirt that really made me want to self-draft a pattern from it, just because I think that the design is interesting and like different than a normal sweatshirt. So this is my arm piece. She looks crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and insert the arm pieces into the body of the sweatshirt and then sew up the top seam on the arm. Okay, whoa, the light coming in is crazy this morning. I just finished sewing in that first armhole, so it's now attached along the body, and then I've just pinned the top line where that second seam will be, just to get kind of a sense of what it's looking like. So let's try it on. Okay, no, it looks absolutely crazy. But like, look at the sleeve. The sleeve looks really good, right? I just love, like, it looks crazy because I've only done one of them, but I just love also that the sleeve comprises part of the neckline. Like one of those small, like nerdy sewing things that I just never would have thought about in terms of like the construction of the garments I own if I didn't sew. Like I didn't even realize it until I started deconstructing this sweatshirt. I was like, oh, the arm is actually like part of the neckline, neck hole. I'm just excited. So I'm gonna get the other arm in so that hopefully it starts making a little bit more sense. Then it should really start looking like a sweatshirt. Now we have the arms attached and you can actually see the progress. I'm really happy with it. My only concern is with the neckline. Obviously I'm gonna be putting like a proper ribbed neckline on it, but I feel like the pre-finished neckline is just a little bit like gaping. So we'll see. If needed, I can like try to take it in a little bit. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. I did do something slightly shocking on these seams. Not shocking in general, just shocking for me in that I overlocked them or zigzag stitched them. I do not have an overlocker, but I zigzag stitched them to finish them just because I felt like they didn't need a fancier finish than that. I knew it was gonna be quicker and this fabric doesn't really fray. So I'm not actually concerned about the finish. I just wanted to do something easy. So for those of you who say that I always go overboard on my finishes, sometimes I just do a zigzag stitch finish. But I am gonna do a flat felled seam on this top shoulder seam or arm seam just because I like the look of it. I think it'll tie it together with the pants and with the side seam where I've done a flat felt seam. So I'm gonna do that. And then we get into the ribbing, which I did get. I got some matching ribbing. You probably can't really tell the difference between the fabric and the ribbing, but I got some matching ribbing for this project, and I'm going to do a waistband hem, some ribbing around the arm cuffs, and then of course the neckline. I'm very nervous about that part of it because I've never done it before. And then that's it. That's all we need to do. So I'm really pleased with how quickly this is going and how good it's looking. I think it's going to be such a nice set to have together, the two. Actually, before I finish that seam, I just had a moment where I was like, maybe I want to bring in the neckline a little bit. I feel like it might be a little bit too gaping, and really I should do that now before I like finish all of the seams around the neckline. So I think I'm going to take it in like 1.5 inches on either side, and just see how that looks. I've just pinned kind of where I'm going to take it in, and I'm just going to try to blend it in with the top of the arm, but just take it in like 1.5 inches on either side. Okay, I'm very happy that I did that. So I just took it in like a tiny bit on either side. I haven't cut the flap off yet, but I feel like it's now much more closely approximating the neckline that I want before I put the ribbing in. So happy with that. Now we finish the sleeve. The arms are done, and so it's time to figure out this ribbing. I think I'm going to start with the waistband because for some reason that feels like the least intimidating and the least like eye-catching part. So if it doesn't go well, hopefully I can make any mistakes on this bit. So I just have the sweater laid out here. I think for the waistband, I don't want it to be super cinched in. So I think I'm gonna measure the waistband and not cut the exact width, but I don't know, maybe just like 1 inch or 2 smaller, maybe? This is the sweatshirt, this is the ribbing. So I think I'm gonna cut it to 85% of the width of the sweatshirt, and I'm going to cut it, well, maybe I should just cut it all in one. I was gonna cut it in 2 pieces and then sew it together at the side seam. Yeah, I am actually gonna do that. For some reason I was like, if I just cut 1 piece, then I wouldn't have to sew anything together at the side seam, but no. I don't have a ring of ribbing, so I'm gonna have to sew at least 1 side seam together. So we might as well sew both to make them even. So I'm going to cut,
what kind of chunky waistband? I'm gonna cut 5 inches long, because if I cut 5 inches, then the actual length will end up being 2 inches. So you have to allowance, and I'm gonna fold it over on itself.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, let's cut this out and give it a try. Got the waistband ready to insert. So I just sewed up the side seams on it and then folded it in half and ironed it so that the raw edges are both on one side. Now, usually with a waistband piece of any kind, I would sew it right sides together with the garment and then do a stitch in the ditch. But I'm feeling a little bit sensitive about the stitch in the ditch situation at the moment after these pants. And I'm also thinking that like for this sort of fleecy sweatshirt material, I think that that is not actually how most waistbands are constructed. I think that in this scenario, it maybe does make more sense to just sew it all right sides together. So this whole folded apparatus, just sew all of this right sides together and then finish it with a zigzag stitch, which again, we all know is not my preference, but the zigzag stitch actually turned out just fine where I used it on the inside of the garment already. So I think it'll A, make my life a lot easier, and B, it might actually look better in this scenario. So to make the sleeve cuffs, I basically followed the same formula as the waistband, cut out the pieces, sewed them together to form a ring, and then folded that ring in half to make the actual cuff piece. Then I sewed the cuff piece to the end of the sleeve, right sides together, stretching as I went in order to distribute it evenly. Waistband and sleeve cuffs are in. I probably could have gone a tiny bit tighter on these cuffs, but that's okay. So now all that's left is the neckline, which is the part that I'm the most nervous about, just because I feel like that's really where you can see things that are more homemade, like if the neckline isn't quite right or if there's like weird bunching. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily. Like obviously I'm learning, this is my first time doing a neckline with ribbing like this, but I would just really love for it to look nice because I do think that the rest of it is looking really nice. The advice that I've seen online is to use a neckline width that's 80% of your actual neckline with the ribbing. So that's what I'm following. The idea is it gets stretched like a little bit, but also you don't want to see visible bunching. Then I'm just gonna follow the exact same steps as the other band ribbing situations. Cross my fingers that it looks good. You guys, I think we've done it. I am pretty happy with how the neckline turned out. I'm pretty happy with how the whole thing turned out. The neckline, I'll be honest, is a little bit more of like a mock neck sort of vibe than what I had originally intended it to be, but I don't hate it. I actually like the way that it looks. I think I can say that I successfully finished this project in 4 days, so didn't quite meet the arbitrary marker I set myself for this challenge, but I will say that I feel like the number of hours that I spent really evens out to 3 days, because I definitely didn't spend 4 full days working on this. So that I think is something to be proud of. I have a few thoughts. One is that I will say for the pants, I feel like if I were making them again or if I were making any revisions to the pair that I made, I'd probably shorten the rise on them. I think that since they were designed as pajama pants, there's something quite kind of baggy about them that I don't mind, but for a sweatpant that I might want to be like wearing out in the world and definitely have worn out in the world, I would just prefer that it not be as baggy as it is. But otherwise, I think that the Carolyn pajama pant pattern translated to the sweatpants jogger style that I wanted really, really nicely with just a couple of small modifications. And I'm super proud of how nicely my self-drafted sweatshirt came out. Obviously, it wasn't a super complicated pattern that I was trying to recreate, but regardless, I'm really happy with how it came out. I cannot speak highly enough of this modal sweatshirt fabric from Lyrical Fabrics. Again, if it's still available, I will link it in the description because it is so, so lovely. It would be really nice if you wanted to make like a holiday something from it. Holiday pajamas, maybe. These will probably be serving as holiday pajamas for me in the coming weeks. And I also did buy the matching rib to go with it, and I think that the rib was really, really lovely to work with. As I mentioned, I haven't done like rib binding or anything on knit fabric before, and I'm really proud of myself. I think that's all. Before I show you the full look, I just want to say thank you so, so much for being here. I have really, really loved making these YouTube videos for a full year now, more than a full year, and so much of that is because of you. Whether you are someone I know in real life or a stranger who has just happened to find me on the internet, I'm so happy that you're here, and receiving feedback from you and comments from you and getting to know you a little bit more has made creating these videos so much more fun and meaningful for me. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you're interested in more content from me, please go ahead and check out the Patreon. Right now there's just the one video over there, but I'm planning a lot more to come, and you can get your first week of membership free if you sign up before the end of November. So without further ado, in honor of my first YouTube video, this is my 2025 3-day challenge, the loungewear set. What do you think? Did I do a good job?